Thank you. All right, so hello and welcome to the Environmental Science Course Advice session. My name is Dr. Adrian Dusting and I am a Program Director here in the School of Science. Now, I'm Adrian, as I say. Pardon? Alan, nice to meet you. And the arrival is wonderfully timed. No, not at all. I say I'm Adrian, so I'm the Program Director for Science and Enviro Science specifically. So just to explain what's happening here, I will probably try and stand still, which for those who've seen me lecture or talk before is an incredibly difficult thing for me, principally because we are live streaming this as well as recording it. For those who are listening to the recording, please know there are people in the room, so most of the time I won't be looking down the barrel. And again, I'll try and stand still so that the microphone actually picks me up. Before we get into it properly though, I'd like to start by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people as the traditional owners of the lands upon which I live and I work, and indeed the the Bruce campus of UC is situated. I'd like to acknowledge their continuing connection to country, and that we can learn from that connection, and indeed we can endeavour to pass their knowledge, their way of learning onto our students. I'd like to extend that respect to any First Nations people here in the room, or indeed taking our Enviro Science course or any course at UC. Before we begin, because we're lucky enough to have the head of school in the room, I'll just like to introduce Professor Tariq Azaz.
Should I start? Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Adrian, and welcome both of you and folks who are attending online. I just want to welcome you all to firstly, faculty at University of Canberra, Faculty of Science and Technology, and particularly the School of Science. So we're very excited to have you here. I also teach as well, and hopefully we'll see you around. So without further ado, I'll hand over to the capable hand of our program director, Adrian. So off you go. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Adrian.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
All right. So in terms of sorry, go on. Sorry. My video's off. Is it? Okay. Thank you. Shouldn't be. Well, there you go. It's still sharing the screen though, right? It is on, so I'm not quite sure why that would be the case. In this session, we will introduce the Enviro Science course specifically, but within the context of what we do more broadly in science here. For the most part, it is going to be pointing you to where different resources are in the university as well as within the school. If you've got any questions, just stick up your hands. Likewise, if you're in the virtual room, you've got any questions, stick up your hand, I guess. And we've got moderator Dr. David Hartley, who's that gent sitting in the corner, in case you're wondering. It's also why I didn't ask him his name. David will kindly pass on any questions that come up in the chat, or if there's any hands up. Okay, thank you. So I will try not to linger too long on any one slide. It's more so that you know that this slide deck is available. It is available through what we call Canvas. I'll introduce Canvas in a second. And you'll be able to hit it up if you need future information or know where to go to get information in the future. The first slide is actually a welcome from our Dean. That video is available to you. I think you can watch it at any point. Basically, it says, welcome to the Faculty of Science and Technology. Who am I? I always think it's nice to know to whom you're speaking. That's not actually me. I mean, I'm Dr. Adrian Dusting, but that photo is not me on the top right. That's a snail. Your first lesson if you're taking biology this semester. That is my finger though. That is a snail on it called Potamen pergasantipodarum, which is a model species I used during my PhD research. This photo was actually in the Canberra Times. And instead of, I anticipated, calls from colleagues the next day, and I did get some calls, but they're all pointing out how poor condition my cuticles are in. So I already know that. You don't need to tell me. But if you do want to know anything about my research, feel free to come up and ask. Happy to put you to sleep. But that's kind of the reason I mentioned that is because when you're here at UC and you're walking these corridors, you're walking corridors with people who are the world experts in what they do, right? So take advantage of that. While you're here, and you're not here for that long, it will pass like that. So take advantage of the fact that you're walking corridors with these amazing people, find out what they do, talk to them. Everyone's very passionate about their research, so have some chats. I teach various units. I teach physics, I teach data analysis, I teach into applied ecology and diversity of life and habitats, a lot of names hopefully you're familiar with. chances are most of you'll have me as a lecturer before the semester is out, for which I apologize in advance. Do you guys know what you're already enrolled in terms of units?
I've got 3 units already enrolled. I've got, whatever you call it.
Plan. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's good. So you're possibly you're in data analysis?
Data analysis, orientation, I think it is.
Yep, professional orientation.
Gone over to computer engineering as well.
Okay, gone over to. You're already admitting to the transition to the dark side. Oh, nice. Okay, excellent. Well, as you'll see once we go through that, it sounds like you're kind of onto it, but as we'll go through the course structure. Yeah, excellent. That's the way to do it. You'll see there's lots of room for flexibility in the degree, so that'll work nicely. Professional orientation in science is actually with David, so that's good. And what about yourself?
I was doing 3 courses.
Okay, great.
So 2 units.
Right.
In one of them was diversity life habits.
Beautiful.
Unfortunately, I cannot remember that one.
Oh, that's okay. So it might be one of the other core units. So biological concepts or professional orientation. Or okay, right. Excellent. Yeah, no, well, that's good. Oh, wow, you're onto it. That's good. So I'll see you in diversity of life and habitat. So teach into that one as well. Yeah, excellent. And I should say, sorry, this is Aiden over here who's been around longer than a year now. But we'll introduce the EnviroScience Society in just a minute. Anyway, so my point is that I'm the program director, so I have oversight over the environmental science degree, as well as a couple of other degrees. You should feel free to come and drop in, hit me up if you need to. Best way to get in touch with me realistically is by using the generic email address. That first goes to our faculty education team. It's kind of like this is the first place you want to go, first port of call for everything related to your course. Then if it needs escalation, certainly it's to do with academic stuff, then it comes to me or to your unit convener or whatever it might be.
Forensic students too, and I got someone over there.
Oh yeah. Here, she's doing it here. Oh, excellent. Okay, who's that? Okay, excellent. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't think who, but yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got something to do back there. Yeah. Forensics. All right. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about the structure of the faculty as we go as well. The top, you've got the executive dean, so Professor Deakin. We've got Associate Dean of Education, and you've just met Tariq, the Head of School of Science. To be perfectly honest, all going well, you won't have to interact with these people in this capacity. However, you will meet, maybe not Luke so much, but certainly you'll meet Tariq and Janine in lectures and in different units. They teach into different things. But in terms of the actual program direction, you know that I take care of environmental science, forensic science, and the general science degree. We've also got Hilary Coleman, who specifically looks after biomedical and medical science. However, I also acknowledge that perhaps you don't want to talk to me about something, but she's also another great option. She's always happy for a chat about courses and units and so on. And seeing as you're here, do you want to chat about the UC Enviro Club now? And then you can flitter a lot. Yeah, tootle is a nicer word than flitter. Right.
Hey, I'm Aiden and I'm part of the Enviro Club. And it's like a social gathering group. We get together once a week, just chat about our days, about our weeks, what hobbies we're into, that sort of thing, make friends. Basically an excuse for drinks at the pub as well, which is good. So at the moment, we're pretty open to suggestions on what we want to do. So feel free to come along. Our beers are on Thursdays at 4:30 at the UCX bar, or the Well, you might hear it called 2 different things. So some of the things that we've done in the past, expert panel nights, so that's getting our researchers from across the uni to come in and chat to us about what they're doing, and we can question them and that sort of thing. Nature appreciation, so just going out and enjoying nature and getting out there. Public service and activism, so we do a lot of volunteering or not through directly the club, but we can put your names down and for stuff like Clean Up Australia Day and anything with Water Watch and that sort of thing, like Platypus Month, which is coming up in August. We're also planning on doing some movie nights, so getting together semi-regularly to watch nature movies like David Attenborough and that sort of thing. So yeah, feel free to come along. We're on both Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, everything will be put through there. So come along and have some fun. Awesome.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So, you're good. So, I absolutely encourage you. Welcome, by the way. It's good to see you. No, not at all. It's fine. In case you're wondering why I was explaining to these others before, why we're doing this weird thing of standing in front of here and bus driving, is because we're live streaming and recording it as well. But feel free to stick up your hand and ask any questions as we go. Thank you very much, Aidan. I do very much encourage you to join, certainly the Enviro Club, but whatever societies and clubs you're interested in, absolutely augment your experience while you're here on campus. But there are also good things to have in your CV in terms of your participation and contribution to those kind of organizations. And realistically, you don't have to drink beers as much as it sounded like it. I suspect they do drinks other than beers as well. But yeah, it's a good social aspect, but good professional aspects to that as well. All right. Holy moly, there is a lot of content on this slide. Once again, I would point to this as if you need to know something, come back to this slide deck later on and find out where you can get that information. But the key things to pull out of this particular slide are probably this address. So Student Central is where you go for all of your admin related queries. So before I said if it's related to your course or your units, you'd use the SciTech Student Inquiries email address. If it's about not high level, but administrative kind of stuff, you'd use Student Center. They do have physical base in Building 1 with drop-in sessions and so on. In fact, SciTech representatives there is usually a SciTech representative available during drop-in times at the Student Center as well. But yeah, always good to hit them up through the email first. Before you do inquire through these means, so you can usually find what you're looking for by going to our digital handbook. So this is where you can find all the information about courses and units. Once you've looked up a particular unit, you'll be able to find when that unit's available, of course, and some details about assessments and so on, but also your contacts for your unit conveners, okay? So we're all obliged as unit conveners to put our contact details, often people will put their consultation hours as well, on unit outlines, which are available through the digital handbook. So if you need anyone, that's a great place to start. Course advice is available, as I say, through the Student Center or through that SciTech Student Inquiries line. You can find within the digital handbook generic course advice, so recommended study plans for a typical path through your course. Now, I didn't actually ask before, are you all, obviously you're all interested in enviroscience, I guess, but are you enrolled in which course? Are you enrolled in the enviroscience course or Bachelor of Science?
Bachelor of Science major in environmental science.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, Bachelor of Science.
Brackets? Yep, okay.
Enviroscience.
Yep, okay, excellent. So I think it sounds like you two are in EMB001, so Bachelor of Science brackets Environmental Science, and you might be in NPB003. Is that possible? Bachelor of Science, okay. There is very, very small differences between the two, and we'll cover that at the end. But either way, you'll be able to go to the digital handbook and be able to find a typical study plan that'll guide certainly what you need to enroll in your first couple of semesters, and after that it gets broader and with a lot more options and flexibility. So when you inquire about your course, you say, okay, this is a typical study plan, fine, but I want to vary this, or I want to go overseas and take a unit, or I want to pop down the road to ANU and do a unit. Can I get credit for that into my course? When you do slightly more complicated things like that need an academic call, that's when it gets escalated to me and we can chat about it. So can I do unit X instead of Y under this particular major? And we can have a discussion. So there's quite a lot of flexibility. It's not that you choose majors and then bang, that's it, you're done. You never engage with you never engage with course advice again. It's along the way we can keep updating and iterating your course so you can get the most out of it. So you might want to squeeze in something that's not at all related to enviroscience. Maybe you want to do a creative writing unit, or do calligraphy or basket weaving or whatever it might be, or go over to the dark side. You are very welcome to do that. Okay, philosophy, interpretive dance. Maybe that's your thing. That's all fine. Each to their own. In terms of communicating with the uni, you may have already got the vibe that you should use email as a first port of call for advice and so on. Make sure you're using your UC email address to do that. Okay, so your student email will look a little bit like that one on the right. So you and then your 7 numeral student number at uni.canberra.edu.au. Okay, so the reason that you need to use that address is that that's considered verified email. We know that we're talking to you when you're using that email address. If you shoot us an email from Gmail, or does anyone still use Hotmail? I don't know, or whatever it might be. If you email us through Ask Jeeves, then we will probably reply and say use your student ID, use your student email address. Okay, just as I say, for identification verification. Identity verification, I guess I mean. By the same token, if we email you something or we post it on Canvas, and again, I'll discuss what Canvas is in a minute, we assume that you've read it, okay? So it's information we've sent, we assume you've got it and you've read it. So let's talk about Canvas then, this idea I've mentioned sometimes. Who's had a poke around Canvas already? 1, 2, yeah, a little bit. So you would have probably used this is what's called an LMS, a learning management system. You would have used one before, like Blackboard or Moodle or Canvas, maybe even when you're in college or earlier. Basically, you have initially a tile like this for each of your enrolled units. Click on that, and that opens up what is in effect the information hub for that unit. Pretty much everything we do is through Canvas, okay? Other than seeing you in class, everything else we do is through Canvas. So that means all the information will go out through Canvas. That means all the details about your assessments, your dates, etc., all your notes, all the recordings for your lectures, the virtual rooms for your classes, whatever it might be, will be run through Canvas. Likewise, you will submit most assessments that aren't in hard copy format through Canvas. Okay, so really, really key thing to get familiar with. And different conveners use Canvas in slightly different ways, but they all convey that core information and accept assessments through Canvas. So get once really familiar with it. You should already be automatically subscribed or enrolled, I should say, into a couple of courses. All the units you've already enrolled into. Did we discuss which units? Have you already enrolled into units?
I'm just doing 3 to start with. I've got bioconcept,
Yep.
diversity,
Yep.
and data analysis.
Yep, excellent. All right, I'll see you in data analysis. That's mine, and I'll teach you into diversity. That's an excellent first start. So it sounds like you've looked at the typical study plan and enrolled in the 3 appropriate ones. Excellent. So you will have, in that case, those 3 unit tiles up and ready to go. Okay, in Canvas. You will also, so you won't have contextual physics with mathematics. You all get to do that first semester next year. Lucky you guys. But you will be enrolled in the academic integrity module. You need to complete the academic integrity module, commonly known as the AIM, by the end of your degree. Realistically, it's actually a requirement of David's unit, professional orientation. So you'll do it well and truly very early on. You will also be enrolled in the School of Science Information and Course Advice site. This is one of the hubs where you'll be able to find all of this information. In fact, you'll be able to find the recording of this session there. You'll be able to find the slide deck from this session there. And you'll be able to find typical study plans and so on that I've posted for your enjoyment, your perusal. And I've kind of just run through that now, okay? So that is a little bit more information on that School of Science Course Advice and Information Canvas site. I think I covered pretty much everything that's there. Meet the program directors. Oh boy. Okay, so possibly there's a video of me saying hello or something like that. Yeah, we pretty much covered off all of that. There is also links to the EnviroScience Society through there, so you can find their link to join up. Study skills. All right, so study skills are a group at uni that offer various resources and sessions and workshops and whatever, and seminars and whatever it might be, to provide, well, as I say, resources to help you top up your skills that are complementary to what we're teaching you in class. So they may be you might want to head along to something about assessment writing or referencing, or maybe you need a little bit more help with maths and stats, and so you would head to the Maths and Stats Help Center. They also run a fantastic scheme called Peer Assisted Learning Sessions, I think it is, but it's PALS is the acronym. They're fantastic. PALS is run by students who have done your unit in the year before, kicked a goal, totally creamed it, and then they're still undergraduate students, obviously. They're just in their second or third years, but they're so familiar with the unit that they can help you know exactly what you need to do in order to succeed in that class. And so they'll run weekly sessions. PALS, oh, there you go, it's written on the board, Peer Assisted Learning Sessions. That is run through study skills as well. As I say, there's a few different services they provide. Hit up their site. They have a page on the intranet, but they also have a Canvas site as well. Your lecturer may actually refer you to study skills at some point. Okay, so they may say, hey, in fact, we can even ask study skills to reach out to you and say, hey, this person might just need a little bit of a hand constructing an argumentative essay or something like that. That's not an insult. If that happens, do not consider it an insult. It's not necessarily that your work is deficient. It's just that some complementary skills might be there to work on, and that your lecturer has recognized a way in which you can probably excel, push yourself to the next level with the help of the study skills. They're in the so study skills are based in the library. They're also in the Student Resource Centre, and they're also online. There are health and wellbeing services on campus. There's details here I won't go through, but if you are in need of medical and counselling, or you want to talk more generally, you need some other kind of attention to your well-being, make sure you hit up resources that are on campus. So it might sound unrelated, but well-being can help you out with things like even misconduct. So grievance, so as in academic misconduct charges, or financial difficulties that are outside of your university studies, okay? So there is very broad support that's available to you. In terms of the medical and counselling services, these are principally dedicated to students. They do see staff members, but they charge us for the privilege. However, they do bulk bill for students. So make sure if you're in need of anything, in terms of your broader well-being, that you look for the resources that are available to you here. Likewise, there are other resources that you should be hitting up on campus, like Careers UC. They're actually, the way we do things here at UC, Careers UC are involved even in the delivery of your course from day one. So you will meet this semester, I believe I'm correct in saying, David, that even in professional orientation, there are workshops run by Careers UC representatives, okay? So there's a big emphasis on getting you employed at the end of your course. So we embed professionalism skills, we embed these kind of career advance, preparing yourself for your career, job readiness, as we call it, throughout your course, okay? So it's embedded, but at the same time, they have an office. If you want to hit them up, talk about your CV, whatever it might be, go and do that. Inclusion UC. So if you have some ongoing health concern, you should go and talk to Inclusion UC. They can come up with what we refer to as a reasonable adjustment plan, otherwise known as a RAP. A RAP allows us as conveners to do whatever it might be that you need to help you out with assessments or your attendance or whatever it might be in class. It's confidential. We don't know what the actual underlying health condition is, but we're just let know at the start of semester how we can make allowances, adjustments, to allow you to achieve what you want to out of the unit. As I say, there are also specialized components of the services offered by UC that are targeted at international students, at Indigenous and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. Student advocacy if you need it, hopefully you don't. There's also a food pantry, etc. Revisit these slides if you find that you're in need of support in some extra way. That said, I've mentioned at the start, something that isn't here is the SciTech education team. They should be your first point of contact for anything to do with your courses or your units. There are also the academic staff themselves. We are not aloof and stuffy. Well, some of us are. We're not all aloof and stuffy, as you might see in, US TV dramas and things. Are actually quite human. So make sure you're hitting up your academic staff, your lecturers, if you need help and support as well. Long gone are the days of the ivory tower and dusty lecture theatres and bookshelves lined with old tomes and stuff. Although I wish I had more bookshelves in my office, but that might just be my inner nerd. Hit up UC Student Mentor Program as well, as if you would like. So again, like PALs, I guess, these are people who are here, actual undergraduate students who have gone through or are going through what you are as well. So they're most familiar with your situation. They can provide advice in all sorts of things. Student mentors, as I've listed here, tend to be kind of role models and university guides, so they can actually just point you around. They can help you out if you need someone for advocacy, or even if you're a little bit shy about knocking on the door of one of those dusty old academics offices or whatever it might be. They can help you out with things like that. So I suggest you look up those services if you think maybe just a little bit of sport, meeting people or getting around campus or whatever it is. Have a look at the UC Student Mentor Program. Also, if you just want a cool new white t-shirt by the look of it, that might be a way to go. Student Resource Centre, I mentioned before, the SRC. So unhelpfully, I think this sign has actually been taken down. It is on the outside of Building 6, or the entrance to it is outside of Building 6. Fortunately, we let you sit indoors on cold winter mornings. We're in Building 27 at the moment, as you know, that's the one circled there. And the entrance is from the courtyard between Building 6, 12, and 3. Might be a little bit of choose to you right now, but you'll be very familiar with those 3 buildings, certainly 6 and 3, before semester is out or within a couple of weeks even. Within the Student Resource Centre, there's old textbooks and stuff, well, and current textbooks lining the walls, but there's also just spaces to hang out, especially used by study groups. But you can chill out. I think you're even allowed to eat in there and things like that. So make sure you use the space. It is a university-wide space, tends to be dominated by science and health students because we're lucky enough to have it in that area. But it's also a good chance to meet with people across disciplines as well, which is always a useful thing. All right, let's talk a little bit about your course specifically. So we'll define a few ideas, so units, majors, degrees. It sounds like a few of you are already onto it. I am conscious of the fact that I've been throwing around the word unit especially, and to a lesser degree majors and courses without actually defining what they are. So we'll have a quick overview of how it all works. And we'll start from the very beginning. So teaching periods. We have 2 semesters a year. They are 13 teaching weeks long. Having said that, in fact, I'd say they're 13 weeks short. It is a roller coaster. You get on in week 1 and you blink and it's 3 months later and you're at the end of the semester. It is incredible how it happens every year, every semester. So you've got 13 weeks of teaching. The middle week, roughly, is week 8, which it doesn't have any classes. However, you lucky ducks as enviro science students will often find in week 8 you have field trips and things like that. So don't book in it's possibly a bit too late for a skiing holiday, but don't book in a let's go defrosting holiday in Queensland for week 8 necessarily, because often your classes, certainly from second year onwards, will have field trips and things. Okay. Those 13 weeks of teaching are followed by a 2-week of what's called the exam period. You actually have very, very few exams, but you will have major assessments due during those 2 weeks. They just won't have classes. All right. As I say, there's two main semesters. There is also a winter term squeezed in between. Okay, a shorter 8-week winter term squeezed in between. A lot of you may find that you want to take an introductory chemistry unit called Chemical Foundations, 11768. That is offered in winter term and may be an excellent opportunity for you all to get 1 unit ahead in your progression. We'll talk a little bit more about Chemical Foundations in a bit. All right, now keep checking your Canvas sites. That's important. But all of the most important dates for each unit are on the unit outlines. So hopefully you've already read through your unit outlines. G'day, how you going? If you're after enviroscience, yeah, come in, have a seat. Yeah. So we're about half an hour in, but this slide deck as well as a recording of this will be available on campus. So make sure you read the unit outline for each of your units. Most of it's a little bit dry, but the dates, the assessments are particularly important. They're kind of like a contract between you and the convener. It's kind of sets the scene for this is what I expect from you, and this is what you can expect from me as a unit convener. Kind of like a mini contract. All right, so I keep saying a unit. What is a unit? A unit is a specific subject. They're usually a semester long, and we talk not so much in terms of your course requirements. We don't talk in terms of number of units. We talk in terms of the credit points you need to fulfill. Pretty much all of our science units, I can't think of one off the top of my head that's not 3 credit points. So pretty much all of them are 3 credit points. All of them have an identifying code. And you might have heard me say 1178 before for chemical foundations. A lot of you are enrolled in biological concepts. That's 11722. Okay. Doesn't matter. Most of you will get to know them by their unit names or their abbreviations. So data analysis skills for science, I will run out of breath by the end of the semester if I keep saying that. So that's DAS, for instance. All right. So you'll most commonly refer to them as that. But if you're keen on numbers, it's 11723. Okay, so we'll use these interchangeably, the codes and the names. What are majors? Okay, so majors is your specialization, if you like. Okay, so you've got your units, your individual subjects. They build up across 3 years of your course to a major, which is your specialization. So before, as you said, you're going to specialize in environmental science. Most of you are. Some of you will also do, all of you will do a core major in science. So that's actually another major, another specialization if you like. And you also on top of that have a breadth component. And that's another 8 units, which you can use for open electives. So just picking a range of units from wherever across the uni, or you might use it to stick in another major. So maybe you want to complement your environmental science major with a data science major, for instance. And so you would actually end up with 3 majors in that scenario. Again, we'll talk a little bit about puzzle piecing your degree together in just a minute. A minor is kind of like a major. If you're a musician, it is also like a major with a flattened third. But in this context, it is a sequence of units, 4 units. And it's kind of like a mini major, I guess. We do not have many minors offered at the moment. Certainly in science, we don't have any minors offered, but you may pick up a minor from another faculty. So just wait. So just so you know what they are. We yeah, I'll get to what majors you should be looking at in a minute. Expected workload. So I said that 1 unit is 3 credit points. If you're doing a 3 credit point unit, you're expected to do a total workload of 150 hours across a semester. So for a typical unit, you'd usually be in class for 3 to 4 contact hours a week. That will be divided up in different ways. So for instance, in my physics unit, I have a 1-hour lecture and a 3-hour lab. In my data analysis unit, I have a 1-hour lecture and a 2-hour lab. I think PO is 2 and 2 or something like that, right? So you'll have different configurations depending on the different learning outcomes actually of the unit. Roughly speaking though, 3 to 4 contact hours per week. Then on top of that, you're expected to do up to 8 hours independent study. Sometimes you'll find it's more, sometimes a little bit less, but roughly averaging 2 to 8 hours per week across semester. So make sure that you're going home and you're keeping up to date with your studies from the outset. It is very hard to play catch up on 150 hours if you leave them all to the last few weeks of semester. Luckily for you, in first year, we've largely designed our units to help you structure your study so that it's built into weekly quizzes or revision assignments every week or fortnight or whatever it might be, just to kind of try and help you get into that study mode of, okay, I've done this in class, but that is the smallest component of the hours that I'm going to do this week in studying for my unit. As I say, full-time load is 4 units per semester. If you're doing 3 units per semester, that is actually also considered full-time, but the default we go to is 4 units. I note that the 3 people we've asked already are all in 3 units, I think, this semester, which is perfectly fine. Most students actually are now in that mode where they're managing 3 units this semester. Allows a little bit more time for work and things on the side. We've discussed these guys specifically, but I'm happy to chat about yours after the session. If you are taking fewer than 3 units per semester, so in other words 1 or 2, you are technically part-time. You don't need to tell us if you do that, it's fine, but just know that it might have implications for Centrelink, for instance, if you're getting payments through Centrelink on the side. All right. So in terms of the actual structure of the university, you've got the university, well, I guess of where Enviro sits within the university. You've got UC. Then UC is composed of 5 faculties. We're in the Faculty of Science and Technology. Faculty of Science and Technology is composed of 2 schools. You'll be unsurprised to know that they are technology and science. I don't really know what they do in technology. I'm guessing it looks a little bit like the bottom right-hand corner there, something like that. You know the top left corner that they are all scientists because they're looking at, blue liquids and staring down microscopes. That guy's got safety glasses on, so definitely a scientist. I don't know if you, there was a study a couple of years ago that showed that the general public will take your science more seriously if you look like a scientist, which is quite an interesting thing. So make sure if you're ever called upon to comment within your expertise as a scientist that you stick a lab coat on, even if it's got nothing. So we don't wear lab coats in this lab in enviroscience, for instance, because the last thing you want to do is look like chemists, right? And so don't tell any of the chemists I said that. You're not recording this still, are you? But still the case is that if you're an enviroscientist, you'll usually see them out by a stream, right? Or holding a rock or holding an animal or whatever it might be to try and look the part, because the science actually shows that your science will be taken more seriously if you look what you're perceived that you should look like. Anyway, you'll do plenty of this, microscopes and blue liquids and things, but you will also be out in the field. You'll be splashing around in streams or in actual labs, getting a taste of what you love. So the School of Science, you can study a range of things. This person is branching out into red liquids and pipetting. We'll go into a little bit more detail about the different courses in a minute. Just so you know, as mentioned, we've got forensic science. That is actually currently in teach out. So that means after a couple of years, there won't be any more forensic science units or indeed the course offered here. You'll find a lot of students that you're sitting in class with are taking biomedical or medical science. I've combined them here because they take a lot of the same units. Within the Bachelor of Science or Environmental Science, you will be studying principally, unsurprisingly, environmental science. Okay, so a total declaration of bias here. My background was in freshwater ecology through my honours, and then I branched into bit of modeling and genetics as well, but staying within freshwater theme within my PhD research. And so absolutely have a bias for getting out and splashing around in streams. Are you all here because you've got an interest in the outdoors, or is it saving the environment, saving the world, problem solving, all these kind of ideas? I'm sure you tend to think in similar ways. No doubt you're looking forward to actually getting out there into the field yourselves. So there is a big focus on this, what we call experiential learning, at UC. So lots of work into what we call work integrated learning, so WIL, and field trips, lots of practical hands-on actually out there doing it yourself. How to bog and unbog a car, that comes up quite often accidentally on our field trips. But we go local, so lots of things around ACT and even within the urban environments here. But we also do trips there's an awesome one where you spend a weekend going from Cozzy to coast. So you drive up to Kosciuszko and then drive gradually down to the coast, getting out, looking at the different ecosystems along the way. We go out to Willandra, so the arid zone, Western New South Wales, for a week, and do a whole bunch of projects out there. Go up to Tumbarumba, spend a week up there. So there are some, you will do a couple field trips potentially this semester, but for the most part, they really kick off in second year. So that's when we start doing what we call field residencies and longer field trips, so days and weekends and things. So something to look forward to there. I mentioned work integrated learning. You can tell these people at work because they're walking and talking and holding clipboards. Work integrated learning is something, again, you'll meet from this semester if you're doing professional orientation. We have embedded throughout the course 4 what we call professionalism units, and they're all about, well, how you actually apply what you're learning here at work. Okay, so professional skills and so on. A little bit of a peek behind the curtain, the way that we are constantly reviewing and updating our courses is that we bring in industry and government representatives every year. We sit them down, called a course advisory group. We say, what attributes should our graduates have? And it's astonishing that the top one is usually soft skills of some sort. So to be able to communicate with people. So yes, you're picking up a whole bunch of practical skills, a whole lot of theoretical knowledge about ecology and so on, but it's also really important to keep up to date with these professional skills as you go through. So we've embedded in that throughout our course, and that looks a little bit like this. So you can see that we've got professional orientation in first year, professional practice 1 in second year, professional practice 2 in third year, and professional evidence. Okay, so it's embedded throughout the course. PP2, professional practice 2, is actually an internship. So this is where you find an organization. We can usually help you with this in some ways, that where you work with them out in the national park for a week, for semester, or in a lab, or even you might want to conduct your own little bit of research within our own labs here. Okay, these are all options for how you can use professional practice too, but it's all about walking out the door here with your degree and already having that internship, that applied experience ready to go. Okay, so you've got the foot in the door, which is a good way to start. So hopefully you've all had a look at something like this, a typical study plan. The course you are doing is actually a brand new course, whether you're doing the Bachelor of Science or the Bachelor of Science Environmental Science. They're both brand new courses, so they're tippy top up to date, and we are in the process of rolling them out at the moment. This is back to front in my mind. I find it very hard to look at this table, even though I created it myself. So you'll see that semester 2, this is specifically for you guys starting in semester 2. Semester 2 is in the top left-hand corner, and I'm recommending that you take 4 units. You can see that 3 of those are colored blue. These are part of your core major in science. One of them is colored green for your specialist major in environmental science. And you can see throughout, there are also some gaps where I've written open elective unit, and these are the balance of your units. So I mentioned this earlier when we're talking about majors and minors. The idea is that you'll come out at the end of this with a core major in science, a specialist major in environmental science, and then some other breadth component. Now, most of you will use that breadth component to patch together units of your interest from other areas. So there is a lot of choice here, okay? The rest, all 8 of those units that are remaining, those balance, are your free choice. You can go and take the history of ice cream if you really want to, or prehistorical computing, or whatever it is. There are some really cool units that I made those up, obviously, but there are things like From the Very Hungry Caterpillar to Hunger Games. Okay, so literature stuff. You can slot that in as a breadth component. That's totally cool. And don't write off those ideas. Okay, having complementary skills, like further analytical skills or writing skills or whatever it might be, really, really useful. In particular, so as true as it is that people go off and do, contemporary basket weaving, the things that students most often end up complementing with are things like psychology, IT, data science is a really important one. That comes up a lot in our course advisory groups as well as desirable skills for our graduates to have. Indigenous perspectives, something we do pretty well here at UC and is an excellent complement for environmental science in particular. But then there are other things. There's actually a unit called Dirt and Cleaning, Philosophies and Techniques. You want to take that? You can. One important note here, it is a core requirement that you take this unit, Chemical Concepts. I have purposely left that, even though it is a first year unit, I purposely left recommending that you do that until your 3rd semester, because it requires some prior knowledge in chemistry. Now, technically, it doesn't have a prerequisite. Okay, prerequisite meaning you have to complete A before you can do B. Doesn't have a prerequisite, however, it does assume year 12 level chemistry. If you haven't done year 12 chemistry, then I very strongly recommend you take the unit I referred to earlier, 11768, Chemical Foundations. 11768, Chemical Foundations. That is offered in semester 1, and it is offered in winter term. So if you are following this typical study plan and you feel like you need to top up your chemistry before you get to chemical concepts, fill that, this is going to be unhelpful for people watching the recording, fill this slot, the open elective unit here, with chemical foundations. Okay, make sure you do that. Noting that that does take up one of your breadth component slots, and so you then won't be able to complete a complete breadth major in something else. Okay, so I'll just repeat that. If you do not feel comfortable with it, you have year 12 level chemistry, or you need to brush up on it, take 11768 Chemical Foundations. As I say, can be in winter term or can be in semester 1. Okay, excellent. Bachelor of Science. I haven't put up a typical study plan for this. There are typical study plans available via this link actually. So up on the digital handbook, because those typical study plans will all depend upon the specialization you choose. So you might choose to specialize in bioscience or biomedical science, or hopefully in enviroscience, or maybe 2 of those, right? All of which will, each of those choices will change your typical study pattern. Okay? So make sure you check it out before you embark and just enrolling in units. Once again though, there is a requirement that you do the core major. Therefore, there is the requirement that you do chemical concepts. Therefore, you should make sure you've done Chem Foundations or Year 12 Chem before you get to that point. Okay, I think that's all of the specific course stuff. So once again, this is kind of the summary. You're going to shoot me. You're going to say, why didn't you just put this slide up and walk out of here? We could have gone to the free morning tea 3/4 an hour ago. This is the main things these are the main bits of information you need. Your first port of call for information about your course is the digital handbook. If you have any specific inquiries about it, you use this email address. Okay, that's our faculty education team. So SciTech Student Inquiries is the email address. If there's any, they are excellent. They are super helpful. They can usually help you within a couple of days, so 48 hours. At busy times, maybe they'll let you know they need a little bit longer, but they're very, very quick at responding. The person who is not quick at responding, and I'll own this, is Dr. Adrian Dusting. Okay, that's me. So make sure your first port of call is student inquiries. And if there's anything curly, or you want to inquire about something that needs an academic call, can I go overseas to take this unit? Can I swap X for Y? They will escalate it to me. Okay, so go via them. And eventually, if you need to, there's the head of school, but I don't think things would usually get to that point. Lastly, but I guess not least, the faculty want me to encourage you to stay up to date with SciTech through the social media platforms. Okay, so that's actually the full summary. And that really was a very full summary in the end. David will stop the recording now, so that way if you want to ask any individual or personal, not personal, questions, then you can do so.